Good afternoon. I'm Kenney Moore. I'm the Director of the Division of State Schools at the Department of Education. And as if this hat doesn't give it away, I'm going to talk to you this afternoon about building something, and building something very important in the state of Georgia. So I'm going to pull this off right now so I can focus. I don't think Comer believed that I would actually put it on this afternoon. But everyone in our executive committee has one of those, and it's a constant reminder to us about the focus that we have for helping our deaf students in the state of Georgia. A little bit about me: I supervise and get the privilege to do it, to supervise our 3 state schools for deaf and blind students in Georgia, as well as supervising the operations of one of our state's early intervention programs, Georgia Pines. So in addition to that, another great privilege is getting to co-chair the Georgia Pathway to Language and Literacy Project with Comer Yates. And if you know anything about Comer, you can't tell him no. So a couple of years ago, he approached me with this idea, something novel. We saw this in the video a few minutes ago about creating a system and program, and Comer was that change agent. He came to me and said, Kenney, we can't wait on the state to make progress on addressing the deficit and literacy needs for these hard of hearing students and deaf students. We need to do something about it. So we created this organization, and really it's been a grassroots effort. What we do is we have about 20 agency heads. They manage schools, public agencies, state agencies that work together as a coalition. And we have about 450 professionals that are spread out throughout Georgia. Early interventionists, parent advisors, teachers, audiologists, people that are in the medical community that belong to this coalition. And again, our focus is on this: to have all of our deaf and hard of hearing students reading on grade level by the end of 3rd grade by 2020. It's ambitious, but if you get to know any of us that are part of this Pathway Coalition, we're relentless in that goal. One of the main things I wanted to point out on this screen is that it says regardless of their communication modality, that you see at the bottom of that. Sometimes when you're building things, you have to tear down things. And one of the things that we do with Georgia Pathway is we tear down any barriers and any obstacles that stand in our way to promote literacy and language development for our children. One of these is the communication modality. It wasn't that long ago that I'd never even visited Comer School. I'm on the ASL side of communication modality. They're on the language and spoken, listening and spoken language side of it. So typically, across the country, these two sides never meet. They never sit down at the table to try to help our children and work together. We've torn down that barrier in the state of Georgia. It's not really happening anywhere else in the country, so we're that model, and we want it to be replicated nationwide. How are we going to go about doing this? One of the ways that we're doing is we're developing a community of practice. And with that community of practice, we have professional network. All of these teachers that are out in Georgia, these service providers, we're wanting to connect them through a website where they can communicate with each other. We can share information with each other. And just so people don't feel like they're alone. I was working with someone at a table, and they're from South Georgia. Some of those teachers might feel alone down there as service providers. We want to connect them so that we can work as a team. Develop a knowledge center. Be that one-stop shop in deafness that you can go to, get the latest research, regardless of the communication modality. Figure out what's happening, what's working, what you can replicate in your classroom or in the homes if you're working with families. And one of the biggest things that we're doing is early intervention. We've created something called Riley's Path. Riley is actually the son of one of our members that serves on our executive committee. And what we did is we developed a list of transactions, non-negotiable transactions, that have to happen from birth all the way to eight years old, 3rd grade. And what we have found as a group, and this has taken a long time to develop this, as you can see it's still under construction, that if anybody misses any one of these steps, these children will not be on a trajectory to be reading on grade level by 3rd grade. And it's very crucial that that's done. And we want to hold these people accountable. And what it involves is a mindset change. Some of the things that we need to, in order to make Georgia Pathway a success, is we need to make sure that anyone in this continuum, whether it's someone that's in public health, that's why I'm glad Commissioner Fitzgerald is here today, and she's committed to helping us, that when these people go into the homes, when they first encounter families in the hospital, they realize that they're educators. And our #1 goal across this continuum is to push in language and pull out language for these children. We know that's the goal for these children to get and acquire language acquisition. So again, it's still under construction. A second thing that we asked from the group and the audience out here with you all today, we have some great minds here, and this is already being worked on, is the data collection. A number of us have talked about data collection and analyzing that data. One of the things that we feel that we need as Georgia Pathway is that connection between Part C data, Part B data, and our state's longitudinal data system. And the good news is that there are a number of people that are sitting in the audience that are making that happen, and that we'll be able to correlate whether or not our early intervention is working, whether it's related to actually improving the outcomes of literacy for these students that are deaf and hard of hearing. So that's pretty much it. I was talking pretty quickly, but thank you. And if you want to find out more about this, go to georgialiteracy.org, georgialiteracy.org. Thank you.